सुख चैन की बरखा बरसे, भारत भाग है जागा।
पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड़ उत्कल बंगा,
चंचल सागर विंध्य हिमालय नीला यमुना गंगा।
तेरे नित गुण गाए,
तुझसे जीवन पाए, हर तन पाए आशा। सूरज बनकर जग पर चमके, भारत नाम सुहाना। जय हो, जय हो, जय हो, जय 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 हो, भारत नाम सुहाना। जन गण मन अधिनायक जय हे, भारत भाग्य विधाता। पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड़ उत्कल बंगा, विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा, उच्छल जलधि तरंगा। तब शुभ नामे जागे, तब शुभ आशीष मांगे, गाहे तब जय गाथा। जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे, भारत भाग्य विधाता। जय हे, जय हे, जय हे, जय 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 हे।
Thank you, Harsh. Good evening, everyone. Bayview welcomes you all. It has been 6 months that we've already completed our dream year. It has been the most amazing months that have gone by. Me as a president, and for my team who has really worked hard to plan every event, every successful community service work that we have come up with. Members have been equally supportive and have come forth for everything that we have done. Thank you for your support, and we look forward to your more support in the coming months too. Having said that, what are the projects that we have done? We have done good number of projects which have been sustainable. I am sure everyone has been reading their emails, watching the small little clips that we have been sending regularly. I'm not really putting in too much of information out there. Once in a while when I put it, I'm sure you all must be keeping a watch on what is happening with the club. And there is good work that is happening. It is all thanks to my members, my teams who are working constantly. So thank you so very much for the lovely trust that you all have put onto us, and you all are letting us do this wonderful work. The projects that have just gone by where we couldn't go, we are all aware that the dust is kind of settling down. We've become friends with COVID. We've said that, yes, you are here to stay. We are not accepting you as a complete friend, but we know that we will just manage along with it. So we've learned how to manage. Third wave has been relatively fading off. Our dear ones have been safe along with that, thankfully, and I pray that everyone stays safe also. Keeping ourselves into that mode of always being safe and doing things. We have lined up a couple of things with our fellowships and also events that you will be seeing in the month of February. I will let my teams say more for the same. For the part of the projects, I would like to say thank you, donors, for coming so large-heartedly and funding all our appeals that we put across to you. Recently, yes, due to COVID, we could not really go personally for these projects, but some of them that we have been, getting feedbacks about is our Sangopata van has already been inaugurated. So thank you, Ami and Manish Shoksi, for the funding that you all made for that. Also, we gave to the same unit, that is Sangopita, home utility items, which are a huge list, which a very generous anonymous donor from our club has also given. Yes, they are anonymous, but thank you so very much from my heart. There are many projects that we have done. I'm not going to list them down, otherwise it's going to be taking me a lot of time. So let's continue to do the good work, and let us also have fun with a trailblaze that we are doing on 6th. I will let, as I said, let my team speak about it and let them have the privilege to announce the whole thing. having no further ado to the evening and keep Mr. Bittu Sehgal awaited, I would like Mr. Manish Shah, Rotarian Manish Shah, to please introduce the speaker for the evening. Over to you.
Dear friends, tigers are on the verge of extinction. Tigers are on the verge of extinctions. We have heard these words so many times, but with the people like Sri Bittu Sehgal, it is not the case anymore. I would like to welcome Sri Bittu Sehgal to our Rotary. Sri Bittu Sehgal is an environment activist, writer, and the founder of Sanctuary Nature Foundation, an Indian non-profit conservation organization that works on environmental policy, advocacy, science, on-ground support, and habitat management. Sri Bittu Sehgal is also founding editor of Sanctuary Asia, India's first and largest circulating wildlife and ecology magazine established in 1981. He also founded Sanctuary Cub in 1980 to reach younger audience. Cub is currently edited by his younger daughter, Tara Sehgal. Bittu Sehgal has been associated with Tiger Project since its inception in 1970s and has spent over 4 decades writing about and calling attention to conservation issues in books, magazines, and newspapers in both English and languages. Table books on wildlife, some writing books. Sri Bittu Sehgal has also produced 30 wildlife documentaries, led national and international environmental campaign across media platforms, including social media. He has served on a range of government and non-government organization boards and committees to promote and spread awareness of wildlife and honor men and women working on groundbreaking projects. Sri Bittu Sehgal instituted the Sanctuary Wildlife Award, the Sanctuary Wildlife Photography Awards, Mud in Boots project in 2017. In same year, he also wrote Cocoon, the lives of Indian farmer who lives near forest area. Sri Bittu Sehgal founded Kids for Tiger in year 2000. It is an educational outreach program targeting rural and across India through nature walks, fairs, and workshops. It has reached over 1 million kids in last 2 decades. I would also like to welcome Mr. Darshan Khatau, who is going to moderate today's evening. He is a field biologist who has worked with Dr. Ullas Karant and Dr. Kirti Karant for over 25 years, specifically on tigers in India. I will now request Sir Bittu Sehgal to say about his work and life being an environmental activist.
You have to unmute yourself.
Mr. Sehgal, you have to unmute yourself, please.
So again, thank you very, very much for that very wonderful introduction that you gave. I'm very honored. I have spoken very often down the decades, I must say now, to the Rotary, and I have nothing but admiration for the organization and its mission, which is exactly what the country needs right now. We need to be of service to this country, to our people, to wildlife, to everything, because we are all connected. I'm so happy to see you, Darshan. We share not just a common passion, but a common mission as well.
Absolutely, Bittu.
So, I mean, the subject is so vast, the issues are so complex, and yet they are so simple. So I have a request with your permission today. That may I just remind you that at one time you were 12 years old, 13 years old, and wide-eyed with wonder. And everything that you saw was new. We were not jaded, we were not blasé, we were not cynical, we were just children discovering the world. The truth is that I'll share a few pictures with you, which I generally share with 12-year-olds, all right? The issues that we discuss can be such that I could take these pictures to the Prime Minister's office if he ever invited me, and then I could speak to him at the level of vital national importance. It's possibly the most important thing for our country today is the protection of our biosphere and the control of climate change. Everything else comes secondary. And perhaps I will switch from 12 years old to 75 years old in between. But the essence of what I have to communicate is कि जो पुरानी लड़ाइयाँ थी, विकास विनाश, development, environment, मैं कहता हूं वो भाड़ में जाए. We don't have the luxury anymore of having differences because we have a tsunami of problems that are literally at our doorstep, inside our homes right now, and we have the solutions. So if we could just start with those slides that we have. I don't know who has it. I have nothing in my hands. I have only the word next. And I have wonderful, wonderful, wonderful people at Sanctuary Nature Foundation who are upon whom I am so totally dependent. Surely this is not the first slide. Yes, there we are. As you can see, there's a whole lot of people we work with. Now, the thing is, when we started out, Sanctuary started out in 1981, it was a time when nobody understood ki bhai ye log pagal hain kya? Why are they protecting tigers? And we all like animals. I like dogs, I like cats, I like everything else. But here people are dying, people are poor, we've got to lift them. There is cancer, there is so many things. Today things have changed. One small little organism, this virus has changed everybody's thinking. And the helplessness we feel now was the helplessness that people like us used to feel then, knowing that the biosphere is being torn apart. So this, what I'm going to just share with you in as little time as is possible to take, is Nature the Magic Machine. You know, the magic of reality is far more incredible than all the jadoo and things that are done on stage by magicians and all the various aankh mein dhool that is done even on a footpath ki bhai ye dekho isko nikal ke aisa kiya. But the truth is, we are living thanks to a magic machine, and that magic machine is nature. And the Rotary, the corporate world, government, NGOs, children, mothers, fathers, we have all got to get together because we have a common enemy right now. Those things we took for granted, they are not necessarily going to be available to us with such absolute predictability. The monsoon may come early, the monsoon may come late, water may be too much, water may be too little, it may fall in the wrong place, all kinds of things. So next, can we go to this? This is what I tell children. This is our only home and it is our only hope. I must say that with children, the age group that we speak with, I am stuck between two realities. We cannot cause them ecological grief. We cannot also tell them a lie. The fact is that this audience, even though I'm asking you to pretend once in a while that you're 12, I must tell you that we are truly threatened. We are really, really threatened. We have learned to dismantle the biosphere, which gives us air, water, food. Beyond these three things, everything else becomes, I want to do this, I want to do that, but I don't have to do it. You know, if we have these three things, then we have health, then we have happiness, then we have everything else. And all the history of the world took place here. Whether it was the Upanishads or whether it was the Vedas or whether it was the people who wrote the Bible or whether it was the Romans or the Mughals or whoever was there, you know, all took place on this small little blue marble next. And it's the wonder of it all. So these are our magicians. Why do we call them magicians? Because they are the engineers of our biosphere. They are the ones that make things work. They scatter seeds. They keep things in balance. When things are out of balance, it's a monkey. Now this mother is pulling its young one by the tail. If a mother actually tried to do that in America or someplace, probably get arrested for child abuse, you know. But the fact is, all these monkeys, we are just bumped up monkeys ourselves. All these monkeys, they never went to school because play was learning. Through play, they learned what is dangerous, what you can eat, what you can do, who you can tangle with, who you should leave alone. Next. And all these various creatures, this particular thing, for instance, nobody has really seen these things really, unless you really go out. It's a dolphin. It has no sight. It has rudimentary, you know, nerves that were at one time, possibly because they all came from the sea to the land and probably went back. They actually make images. And those images are sonar images, the ones that you have to go to if you want to check your stomach or you want to check whether you've got prostate cancer or something like this. You'll check, what is going on. This creature can find out whether its young one has actually eaten or is just wanting to play. Unlike our children who say, Mom, I'm full, I don't want to eat anymore. So it can check the stomach content, it can check everything. Every creature has been given the ability to survive. Next. I'm giving you this background so that at the end of this session, it may be understood, and probably most of you, if I know people like Darshan, they understand. In fact, I would learn so much from Darshan about wildlife. But look, this is a family unit. These elephants are sentient beings. They are the bulldozers of the forest. Deer cannot pass through thick forest with undergrowth. But when the elephants walk, they make paths. So they are, in fact, our surface transport engineers. They make pathways. And why those pathways? So that if they're stuck in one place, they'll overeat that place and the food won't be available, and the species would not survive. Next. Every single creature has a purpose, and nothing that creature does not enhance the quality of our biosphere. I mean, when you cut off an animal from its food source, then this is what happens. Migratory animals face human wrath because they go into farms. Next. This is a carnivore. Its colors are such that it's warning you. Just the same way as a guy with army guy with a gun will warn and say, "Aage aoge to dekh lena, gadbad ho jayegi tumhare liye." It doesn't want to fight. It just wants to avoid a fight, but it also hunts. And it's a carnivore that keeps things in balance. Next. This is biodiversity of India. It is just unbelievable. It is truly, truly unbelievable that in a country like India, frankly, in 1947, the year I was born, we had these two paths we could have taken. Of course, we needed science. Of course, we needed technology. Of course, we needed safety and security. But instead of exporting our attitudes to nature, which are still alive in India, we imported what I would call false ambition, which is to say that we are the smartest, we know how to look after the biosphere, almost like we invented the biosphere. The connection I would make here, in a way the children titter and laugh, but some people may take offense. Asking human beings to improve the biosphere is like asking a monkey with two hammers to edit Shakespeare or the Vedas. He is not going to be able to do that. We don't have the technology to manage because it's too complex. It's far too complex. Next. And it is beautiful and it is diverse. And that is not just ice, it's water. And these glaciers are melting right now. Punjab, Haryana, Western UP, they used to be called the bread baskets of India. They are not going to be the bread baskets of India anymore. Because when the glaciers melt, the Ganga, the Yamuna, all these rivers, Brahmaputra, all these rivers are going to shrivel. At the time of rain, the glaciers which used to hold the water will pour the water down and cause floods. And when the ice is melted, we'll be faced with drought. In other words, the pendulum is swinging too wide. Next. Jungle, Nadi Maa hai. When we go to a class, there was a wonderful 11-year-old Sardar boy who with a hanky on top of his head. And there was one boy who was a Tamilian who had shaved his head and had one small chutia at the back. And we, with permission of the teacher and the boys, we put a bucket under them and then we poured the water over the two heads which were down. And I asked them, so now that we have poured the water, the one that was shaved, can you get any water out of the chutia? No, they can't. But the Sardarji boy, we kept on squeezing and tip, water kept flowing. And that is what happens. Why the forest is the mother of the river. It sponges the water. The water is sponged by, the rain is sponged by the forest. It seeps lower and lower down. First on the top canopy, then the middle canopy, then the lower canopy, then on the leaves which have fallen. And so gently it treats the soil. Even in the thickest of forests, you will find pure white water flowing. Not the muddy water we are used to. Jungle Nadi ki maa hai, but this is not just for children. You know, you all have seen what happened when those Thai boys in Thailand got into the aquifer, then they had to be rescued, that football team, I think. those are the aquifers which actually are fed by these, by the glaciers, by the forests. Then these aquifers, they feed our rivers when the rain stops. Those rivers feed our wells. Those wells feed our farms. The farms feed us. This idea of cradle to grave, I would urge that the Rotary organization should put this message through. The cradle to grave is a false supposition. You know, it's positing the wrong thing. It's cradle to cradle. In nature, nothing goes waste. Nothing at all goes waste. Next. We keep talking as human beings. Now, what it looks like just some kind of an ugly soup. It isn't. It is actually, these are frogs. They will eat their body weight in insects every day. They are the ones that control malaria, filaria, dengue, all these various diseases that we come about. So they are vital to planet management. Next. I'm saying all these things, you know, scientists are still discovering new species, but the fact is that we are losing species before they've been counted. It's like burning the library without cataloging the books. First of all, library को तो जलाना ही नहीं चाहिए, लेकिन हमें पता ही नहीं कि भाई हो सकता है कि this could be the solution in climate change to the problem of food or medicine. So next, the idea is, the American army has a simple saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, you know. So if nature is working, why are we trying to fix it and trying to pretend that we understand it? These butterflies, for instance, with bees, they're critical to pollination. Far better than 1 million environmentalists, 10,000 forest officers and 10,000 scientists and all the environment ministries and all put together in one cup. They don't do 1/10 or 1/100th of what the butterflies and the bees and the monkeys and the birds do in terms of creating the green sponge, which controls the carbon cycle. And we'll come to that carbon cycle and the pandemic, and it will be understood that actually the economy, for instance, is a wholly owned subsidiary of the biosphere. If we understand that, lots of things fall into place. Next. Look, whether it's a house plant, whether it's grass on a football field in the Bombay Gymkhana or the Willingdon, this is not just a little grass. These are hardcore infrastructures. They're like mini dams. It rains, 3 inches of water gathers, in 20 minutes it goes down. So not a house plant can grow without photosynthesis. Photosynthesis means it needs carbon. It can take nitrogen from the soil. It can take water from the ground, but it needs carbon, only atmospheric carbon. They call it photosynthesis, you know. So next. So the thing is that even in the desert, people think that deserts are wastelands, desert को green करो. नहीं. अगर हम desert को green कर देंगे, तो कल जब सही किस्म की, मतलब right now this pandemic is only an अंगड़ाई. लड़ाई is ahead of us, you know. At some point when climate change goes like this, there'll be vast parts of the world that will need salt tolerant food seeds. It will need very little water. Only 3 inches of rain may fall here, and yet this animal can get all its water supply from these grasses. There is technology in nature that we need, but if we burn the library, we won't have it. Next. Camouflage. There's one thing which is common between nature and the corporate sector. It's eat or be eaten, you know. So they have the predator, prey, everything. They have their ways. Where हम survive करेंगे. Whatever creature you see, from a fly to an insect to a cockroach to an elephant to a tiger, please believe me, it has gone through the trials of life, through a testing machine. It has gone through the most rigorous tests. We are seeing creatures, including ourselves, who are at the apex of their evolution right now. We are geared to survive, and the biosphere is conspiring to keep us alive, but it's telling us, if you don't listen to the rules, you could be in deep trouble, which we are in right now. Next. So there we are. Why do we use the rhino as a symbol for wetlands? Because you can't go, if your child is unwell, you'll put a thermometer. If you are unwell, the doctor will put a blood pressure machine, maybe take a test here or there, blood test. We can't do that for the planet. But when we know that in Kaziranga you have got rhinos, then the rhino has grass, the grass will feed grasshoppers, the grasshoppers will feed birds. Inside the depressions over here, when the rhino shits, it's fertilizer. Fish come down from the Brahmaputra as small little fish. Then after a year, before the next flood is over, those fish in these things go down back into the river when they are this big, and then they feed people all the way through. As the Brahmaputra flows, it goes into the Sundarbans, it feeds them all the way to Bangladesh. And if there are Bengalis here, please, your Rohu Mach, it comes, it is literally fed by the waters that come from here. Next. Symbols. These Himalayan brown bears are threatened by snow melt. They have their own way. They hibernate in winter because it's like we are doing right now. Many of our factories are hibernating, but they have to survive. They keep something going a little bit here and there. And jab thappad phad ke, I'm a Punjabi, jab thappad phad ke sab opportunities aa jayengi, to koi na koi to hona chahiye us opportunity ko fayda lene ke liye, advantage lene ke liye. But we should learn that, and we are coming to that part of it right now, Darshan, where the point is this, that you take Kashmir, everybody talks of the Kashmir problem as being violence. I would say the real Kashmir problem is that when the young people grow up, they will not be able to sustain themselves. Caught between the devil and the deep sea. First, there's social unrest, and on top of that, now their food security is at risk. Their wetlands are at risk. Their glaciers are melting. This is the Hangul. Only 100 and plus. It used to be larger. And because of protecting the Hangul, 30-40% of Srinagar's drinking water comes because of this deer and the bear and the leopards that live there. In fact, members of the Rotary, if you look at all the large cities in India, anywhere between 70 to 90% of the water that you drink is forest water. If we destroy the forests, we destroy our water sources. Next. Wetlands, we are talking, everybody knows about climate change. There's too much carbon up there. We have actually just burnt 500 million year old sunshine, which caused plants and animals to be under compression and under time. Everything got wiped away except the high calorific value of carbon. So that carbon is oil, coal, gas. We are burning it up, and now we are putting too much carbon into the atmosphere. And like on even a summer day, if you go to Rajasthan, if you sleep on your terrace, at 4:30 in the morning, you start saying, "Ek choti si odni de do." So our atmosphere is like a choti si odni, which is just right. Agar uske upar do razaiyein dal denge, to pasine chhut jayenge. So the earth has also got a fever because we are mismanaging the earth. We are mismanaging our resources and we are putting too much carbon up, but it is all solvable. Next. This is Mumbai. Now, these people just pass by Chowpatty and things and think nothing, but this is Mumbai. This is, of course, there are sometimes the signs that certain types of species of marine creatures, you get sharks, you get eels, you get starfish, you get all this, you get corals. At the US club, you can go, you'll actually go on those rocks, you'll find corals. I'm saying that Mumbai has a seascape which is much better than San Francisco's. The only thing we don't have is the understanding and the value that this is an asset. And those of you who are involved with banking and economics, you know, if you undervalue an asset, then you are destined to lose it. Why is this an asset? And why do I suggest that the Rotary looks at all the good things you are doing from the prism of, can we prevent or do we have to go to cure? Next. We manage, if well managed, the oceans could cater to almost all our needs, including from sea grasses. It could actually feed us our medicines, everything. Next. What a beautiful country we have. But ये बिट्टू साइकिल जैसे लोग जो आके कभी कहते हैं कि भाई ये हो रहा है वो, some people think कि दुनिया बंद ही होने वाली है, खत्म होने वाली है. And as it is, we've got enough problems. You know, खटपट होती है घर में, खटपट होती है ऑफिस में, खटपट होती है while we are traveling traffic में. Who wants more खटपट? You know, so environmental degradation affects all species, but ecological grief is a real thing. Our children are growing up. My biggest problem, my biggest huge problem when I was a child was that I was to be the cricket captain and I was unfairly not made the cricket captain at the age of 15. I was being trained to be a test cricketer. The Punjab College of Sports had said, wicket keeper, opening bat, come down, all your college fees paid. My father said, you become a chartered accountant. That was my biggest problem, and I would wish upon children today that may those be your only problems. Next. Because there is so much we have. So much we have. I'm not saying we go back and wear these earrings and go back and live like this. I'm saying take their attitudes. Let's not consider that nature is an endless supply machine. It isn't. It's finite. nature has finite resources and permanent growth is not possible. Forget about desirable, it is not possible. And we are seeing this now. Next. I'll go a little faster through these. Of course, everybody's heard of the Chipko movement, but do you know why the Chipko movement started? It started because people wanted to actually cut down their forests, plant willows for cricket bats. The British wanted to do that and they said, what nonsense. So I'm saying the power of women is going to be unleashed again onto the world. Thank God, because with the testosterone-driven development ambitions that we have right now, I think men need to take a touch of more of humility, and women need to come up into decision-making positions because they are the ones who rock the cradle and they will rule the world. And we want our children to grow up to be better than we were. Not passing a value judgment on our intent, but our behavior. Next. This is what happens with climate change. None of these huts over here had insurance policies. They just lost everything they had. And the effects of climate change are now visible. We used to only speak about them, that ye hone wala hai, hone wala hai. But why are we ignoring it? Next. It's not just a question of floods, you know, it's a question that floods are followed by drought. Now, I may not meet this man every day, but the fact of the matter is it must pain me to know that so many of my citizens, for no fault of theirs, he does nothing, his carbon footprint is next to zero, and ye hai uski halat with droughts. And come to the pandemic. There is a report called the Dasgupta Review, and there is a project next called the Intergovernmental Panel on Biodiversity and Ecosystem Services. What this has said essentially is that habitat loss decreases biodiversity, and because we have actually destroyed species, all the diseases that you see which have really troubled us, AIDS, SARS, MERS, Ebola, you know, the Kasanur disease, the monkey disease, then bird flu, swine flu, Bhagwan jane kya kuch, including malaria, all these various things have been zoonotic diseases transferred from animals which were locked down by their own choice in their ecosystems. Abhi unko humne wahan se hakal ke, bhaga ke, apne ecosystem mein dal diya aur hum log lockdown ho gaye. और साथ में एक the global wildlife trade for skins and etc. is $40 billion. At last count, the global loss to the global economy because of just this one tiny virus was $40 trillion. It makes no sense for us to go inside and treat the sources of life as resources to be expended for short-term purposes. Next. This, as you can imagine, this is not how I would talk to the kids, but these are the visuals that they see. So we say community-owned, community-operated nature conservancy sanctuary is working with organizations, including HDFC, including Morningstar, including so many. Hemendra Kothari is somebody who has understood and is helping us consider so many. I can't name the number of people who know. But nobody can do anything on their own. We have to get together first, not because of this talk or some passionate speech given in the United Nations. It has to be understood, and then from self-interest, if we act, please believe me, like a cut on your hand, everything can fix itself. Cocoon conservancies are designed because our national parks, whether they are Ranthambore or Kanha, etc., they are ballpen marks. We want them to turn into ink blots. But from there, we don't want people to go away. We want that they should become the primary beneficiaries. They may not be able to serve you the right kind of foods and things, but at least theirs is the land. They should be paid for the privilege of being able to see a tiger in their area, or for me to sit by a river and write poetry, whatever it is that I want to. Tourism is the world's largest per dollar employer. And I believe that by protecting biodiversity, tourism will get a huge boost, but that boost must not come at the cost of the community, because as we expand next the biosphere, those people will not be able to farm over there because beetles and grasshoppers and birds will take away all that they have, you know. So right now, the point is nature-based solutions can solve all our problems. All our problems are solvable. First, the first issue is clean air, clean water, clean food, safe food. If we don't have these, then हमारे विकास नहीं रहेगा, विनाश बन जाएगा. Next, Darshan, I will need you to come in at some point. I'll tell you the sea could have supplied us endlessly, but what we have done is that we are using, trawling the very bottom of the ocean where all the creatures over there are the ones that actually feed us. We are cutting the mangroves, which are the nurseries. So it's like, मैं कैसे समझाऊं कि it is not overconsumption, it is not gluttony, it is stupidity. That why would we destroy the source, the goose that lays the golden egg? Why would we destroy it when we know that not only our children, but even we have to survive based on the fact that this food will be available? Now, to get one species of fish, if I kill all of them, what faida is that? Next. So it's actually what we are asking for is long-term economics, and we are asking women to step forward and to say that, look, I'm not really particular, that's the lady over there, but she was probably indoctrinated, that we're not particularly impressed by men who say, कि मैं बहादुर हूँ, मैं lion को, tiger को, elephant को shoot कर सकता हूँ. They are the people, they are the creatures who are going to help us to maintain and manage our planet. And without them, it's like having a factory with no workers. Nobody in boardrooms who can go down over there in the machine room and do the work. These are the machinists. These are the guys, they are their own. They not only have the technology to repair, they do not possess the technology to damage the biosphere. Next. We can go next. Please don't buy ivory. Please don't do things that buy tiger skins, and don't even display them, And garbage, as I said, is only created by us. When an elephant drops a big piece of dung, the rest of the forest is going, oh, breakfast, jaldi aao, it's calling everybody, and it comes down, and that is turned back into fertile soil. Next. Zoonosis, I have talked to you about, we won't stop at this, but please believe me, the only way to stop the next pandemic, which is what Sanctuary is trying to do with the Corbett Foundation, is to, like a magnet, the viruses which are contained in every creature will go back to their places, and those places will be the ones which become like iron filings to a magnet. They will be the attractants, and the next pandemic can, I would say, only be avoided if we now rewild large portions of the world. Scientists are saying 50%. I think it will take 15, 20 years, 30 years to get to that stage, but at least let us not destroy what is there already. And we should work with policymakers, we should work with community leaders, we should work with the corporate sector. Next. The magic of reality, Mother's nature to our planet. There is no creature, not a single creature that doesn't have a purpose. The scorpion is looking after its young. Do we have the wisdom to do the same? Next. As far as the tiger is concerned, behind me is a picture of a tiger. It is just a metaphor for nature. पट्टेदार पानी का देवता कहते थे इसको. जहां जहां टाइगर है वहां वहां पानी है. 650 rivers are fed by the tiger's forests. Gir is feeding a whole lot more all the way to Amreli. All the rivers that you think, all the rivers you think of, the great rivers of India, they originate either in the glaciers, or they originate in the forests or the wetlands. And these are our infrastructures. If I had to build a road, I would not rip up a railway line and build a road on it. I would take another alignment. So our problem is not building the road. The problem is, where are you building the road? Don't build it at a place which is pulling carbon down. Don't build it at a place which is our water supply. Don't build it in a place, don't build your cities in such a way that all your sewage goes down and kills the creatures that are going to supply you and keep you alive tomorrow. These are clear things. Next. This is, I think, the last, or almost the last image. Sloth bears, like them, they are planting trees, spiders, they wrap their eggs in silk. They are absolutely in your house. I can assure you there are no less than 30, 40 spiders hanging around. Please come back to that slide. I don't want to just leave, no, the children, please. I don't want to just leave a better world for these children. I want to leave better children for this planet as well. And Sanctuary, through Kids for Tigers, we do reach out to 1 million people, including parents, teachers, children. And what we tell the children is, don't worry. I might have lived a funeral every day of my life. Something good has died, something valuable has been lost. But these children, I tell them, you are going to be repairing everything, because You may think of Superman, Iron Man, this man, that man, Hanuman, all those creatures, those superheroes are nothing compared to one superhero, Mother Nature. She will fix everything. And if we work with nature's tide, this will work in the boardrooms of CEOs, this will work at government level, this will work in the United Nations. And this is the most democratic way to ensure equity to all people across the whole world. The rain falls decentralized, it must be pure and available. The sun shines decentralized. We don't have to gather all that sunshine in one place and then send it out by wires. Do that also, but make sure that every rooftop, it's either growing food or it has the capacity to generate enough power to at least run your campus and your lights and fans. Next. And that is it. Thank you very much. This particular session that we've had, it may have gone on a little longer. I apologize, Darshan, but you are such a powerful group of people. If there was nobody else but you and we worked together, I think we could give this country the strength to lead the world and tell it that you can be happy, you can be comfortable, and you will probably be much more economically secure than you would be if these foundational assets of ours were destroyed. Thank you.
Thank you very much. But I think now I'm going to allow Mr. Darshan Khatau to please come along and take the session further with a lot of, we could have questions which will be posed from our members. And also, I'm sure Mr. Darshan would also have a lot to say and to add up to what you've already stated. So let us have it from Mr. Darshan.
Thank you, Rotarians. I'm just going to have an informal chat with Bittu. I'd like his views on, telling the Rotarians and this August crowd, which forests in India should one visit and what they should expect, and why we should be looking at forests in India rather than traveling abroad and, seeing different things out there. Bittu, can you please elaborate?
Yes, Darshan, I would say that, I don't travel abroad very often. I love to go to, I've gone to, Masai Mara, and I've gone to Kruger and places like this. But there are so many places I have not seen. Can you believe I haven't been to Ladakh? I was in an army truck with potatoes, and halfway through in Kargil, there was a landslide and it came back. So that's on my, I would say go to these places, because apart from the beauty that you see, it makes you wonder at the utter perfection of nature and the utter peace you feel. Everybody thinks that silence is the absence of sound. When you go into a forest like Kanha, I would really, I saw my first tiger in Kanha, Darshan, and Ranthambore and Dachigam have been where our family's second homes. We've been there 3 times a year, 4 times a year for 30 years, I would say that, silence is not the absence of sound. Silence is the presence of nature sounds. And if you could actually go and sit in the middle of a forest in the night and hear the cricket or hear the, the nightjar, or look at the sky, please believe me, apart from humility, your blood pressure will come down, your problems will be diminished. So many things will happen, So that's, you can't ask me to say which forest, because then it's like asking which child do you love most, So.
Absolutely, but it's not even the forest, Bittu, if you look at what I've seen in the pandemic, from the window.
Oh, Lord. Are you going to show them or not? You must show them.
I don't have photographs and slides at the moment, but sometime later. But just to, bring to the attention of what we have in our city, dolphins. I was just talking to Mrs. Mehta and, before we began, of the Indian Ocean humpback dolphins that we have in our backyard, right from Nariman Point to Raj Bhavan, and how they come from early December till the advent of the monsoon, and about, the 75 odd species of birds and mammals and reptiles that we have in our backyard, right from, the small place, Hanging Garden, Nepean Sea Road, and Malabar Hill, and that's a treasure trove that we have right in the middle. Forget Borivali National Park, But just across in urban residences is you have so much of wildlife if you keep your eyes open.
Darshan, I envy both your passion as well as the magic that you have with your camera. I have seen some of his pictures. They are better than pictures taken by many of the wildlifers who go deep into the forest 1,000 miles away. And it's all here in Malabar Hill where I live. It's fantastic. Nature is around us everywhere. And Darshan is one of nature's chroniclers.
Thank you, Bittu. I've worked with Ullas for about 30 years now, specifically on tigers. And being in the field is just magical, want to continue doing that.
So I'm going to come in over here and just going to ask you as to what is your moment when you are taking these pictures. You just have the camera in your hand with those lenses, which are something that magnifies the entire image. I have been to enough wildlife safaris, but I know how you all go passionately going click, 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 click onto it. When do you know that this is the right moment when you've captured the expression of the animal, which just comes across live and we feel, oh, it's just in front of us when we see your pictures? How do you manage to do that?
It's just the time and the patience that you need. Every moment is different. If in the morning you've been to the same place and seen a wild animal, and if it's just sitting there all day, what you see in the evening is not going to be the same as what you've seen in the morning. So it's just patience and it's just dedication, and you need to spend a lot of time being in the field, or it's not like for me, it's not being a tourist and getting into the forest and spending just 2 days on a safari. I would at least recommend 4 or 5 full days to actually get to know and see wildlife in that particular area.
So yeah, well said that yes, it's patience that gives you those kind of beautiful pictures, and what really comes across from the camera to the print is only the patience and the perseverance that goes behind to sit over there patiently and enjoy the moment and then capture it on camera. So yes, very well said. I'm sure there must be, I'm not saying which is your favorite one, but any particular place which kind of makes you feel, yes, it is well maintained. It is a place that has a good infrastructure, because we've all been to countries abroad also where there have been sanctuaries. Why would you always say that, yes, India has the most, in fact, as you rightly said, Mr. Sehgal, you have the varied species of animals over here. Still, we all want to go out of the country to watch these lovely beings. Then why are we wanting to flock outside and not, make that economy work within our country? What is your take about that?
Darshan, that's for Darshan or?
That's for you, Bittu.
Oh, for me.
Any of you all, in fact, both of you all can put in your input.
Yeah, essentially, I'd put it like this. From my perspective, I would say that India is probably one of the richest, most biodiverse countries in the world, and there's magic here. When I see 1 million tourists going across for skiing in Switzerland or something like this, I just think to myself, "Kabhi Gulmarg gaye ho? Dekha hai kya?" Some of those slopes are fantastic. Absolutely, they just, and India really, if you don't, I said, if you don't recognize the value of an asset, then you will lose it. And India itself and its wilderness are assets. You need to go. You need to go to the Sundarbans and sit there and at night listen to the roar of a tiger and say, all is well with the world. I'm safe. The tiger has got food to eat. And the same thing everywhere. You need to be woken up to bird song. And this is our country. I mean, from the Himalaya all the way down to the Andaman Islands, we have got so much that words fail me. I promise you one thing, you will enjoy yourself more here. And you don't necessarily want to replicate the experience of going to, say, a structure like the Oberoi or the Taj Mahal Hotel, or, something like this in the middle of the forest. You certainly are, creature comforts are very important. But the fact is that don't shut yourself out from the outside, because that you can have in Bombay also. So I would say when you go out, go to places that encourage that there's a little wilderness around, so you can hear a tiger, you can hear an owl at night, you can sit in the under a banyan tree, you can have a drink, you can have a campfire. Those are the difference. It's experiential tourism is good for you, it's good for the forest, it's good for your learning, it also gives employment to people. So I don't know if I ever really answered the question properly.
No, you did to an extent, but there is a part where I would like to add over here. So is it Mr. Attenborough's voice that really made us all go into Discovery channels and look at the wildlife safaris that are done all over? So don't you think it is time that we also do the same thing within our country, make more of those kind of documentaries where people will want to come within the country to see these things? Because a wildlife, Animal Planet, they only promote safaris out of the country. Very little have I seen something within the country. So I think you all who have been so passionate about it, I'm sure you all can think about doing some little thing, break a deal with these people and put up something for us also to get equally passionate about the whole thing. There are a couple of questions that have been there from our members, and I'm just going to kind of quickly put them out. Is how do we educate the rural community to preserve wildlife? And we've heard stories that the tribals do hunt the flamingos for their meat. So it's a sad thing that we are trying to tell that, we should survive and they should survive with us. But it's both the ways. We try to hunt them and they try to hunt us down.
See, it's like this, that quite honestly, the real education is required in our urban centers, in our decision-making rooms. Because when you say a tribal, say, kills a flamingo, of course, we don't want them to kill it. In fact, we are trying to go to the Maharashtra Machimar Kriti Samiti to tell them, take your boats out, show these things to them, come back. You'll have so much more income. If you kill it, you won't have that income. Same thing. But I mean, in some form or the other, I believe that the requirements that we have, when we say create a dam and it drowns, say 200, 300 square kilometers, just imagine a tribal community, unke puri dade, pardade and their grandchildren will not be able to damage as much as we do, because we want non-stop electricity, and that too we want it from coal. We don't need to do that. So much of the education, I would say, needs to be done in the corridors of power and in urban areas. We should consume less. But yes, we are also simultaneously, Darshan, as you have been doing, we need to go to the communities that live around the forest and make sure that they have a reasonable lifestyle, meaning that they must have safe food, safe water, children's education. These things, if we invest in those communities, then I think our biodiversity will be safe and they will not need to come to this. It's a much longer subject, of course, but I can assure you that those flamingos right now are surely feeding at least about 200, 300, 400 people who are otherwise with boats. They're fisher folk, the families are being, and in Ranthambore, it's right now, at last count, it was a 500 crore economy that has been created around the tigers. When we used to go and we saw tiger shit, Fateh Singh and me would come and celebrate by having 2 extra drinks under a campfire, But today there are so many people there. But of this 500 crores, next to nothing goes to these communities. Some drivers, some guides, they must be paid to protect the biodiversity, and they must have a livelihood. I cannot tell a hungry mother, don't feed your child, or a hungry child that you have no food. There's enough for everybody. I'll stop, Darshan, you take over.
No, so I mean, absolutely. Just to give you and what kind of impact it has. Full-grown teak tree in the forest, when it is felled, it fetches about 7 lakh rupees, right? 7 lakh rupees for a poor farmer living on the fringes in the forest is a lot of money, and so is tiger pelt or deer meat or any other wildlife that he can kill and sell off. So it's very important that we look after the villagers, rehabilitate them, relocate them, and that's what we've been doing over a period of time. But it's a very, very lengthy process. We have to find land, we have to get them out, we have to deal with government pressure, we have to get permissions in place. But it's done slowly but surely, and we are there. we're getting there.
So yes, this question, I believe the one that you just answered is a question that has already been partially answered. A member of ours who has said that, do you all actually have a proposed plan of action as to how Rotary could also be a part of this, and how Mother Nature, especially in India, can be survived? And if Rotary could be in any ways be participative in the whole exercise?
Darshan, it is so vital that Rotary gets involved, because all the things that the Rotary's mission states, all those things can be very, very well toggled with the idea of protecting a forest here, a lake here, a river here, a seashore here. The communities around there desperately need your help. And the dividends from that is first not go to the community in terms of money, but it also then produces all the other things. First of all, to carbon niche aata hai, they are climate warriors, you know. It's worth it to focus energy and do all the good things, medical, health, food, education, clothing, shelter, all those things. If we could for a while focus them around the areas where there's biodiversity, so the ball pen marks, which are our national parks, become ink blots, because लोग समझ जाएं कि जो हमारा यमदूत था वो अन्नदाता बन जाए. Unless they get a direct benefit, it's not going to work, you know. So climate change has its own problems which it will give. On top of that, these people will get even more troubled. And eventually, please, this is not a happy message, but let me put it to you like this. India has no water left in it, in the subcontinent. No water left. If a politician wants a vote, he'll have to go to the farmer. If he wants money, he'll have to go to the industrialist. And when he goes to the industrialist, he starves the farmer. When he goes to the starves in quotes, you get my point. If he has to give it to the farmer, the industrialist, and then we build new dams and we will drown more forests, which are the sources. So the chakkar has to be stopped. And our generation, when we were, Darshan, you remember, we used to say 20 years later this will happen. 20 years nahi hai, 3 saal hai, 4 saal hai. Uske baad tipping point aa gaya hai in many places. The next pandemic could be much worse than this one. The next water problem could be much worse than this one. Nobody has seen cyclones hitting Bombay the way it has, Calcutta the way it has, Chennai the way it has. Nobody has seen the floods that have come down the way they are. We need good planet management. And I believe that in the Rotary, you have such brilliant minds and you have purity of purpose. Please channel it. People like Darshan are there. People like us, we are there. Cocoon conservancies, as I said, I mean, these are community-owned, community-operated nature conservancies. For a while, if they stop farming, the biodiversity will spill onto their farms and people will come to their, what used to be farms are now grasslands, and pay them for the privilege of coming there. Now, that is what I would call in an ideal situation, really building tourism, bumping up the economy from the bottom. And projects can be made, small projects can be made, large projects can be made, and the Rotary knows how to do it. And I think that it should become part of your mission. And we will be there to at least guide, if not implement directly.
So well said. What we shall definitely do after this is we will be having a sit down with both wonderful minds that you all have and take some kind of inputs as to how Rotary can definitely with children, young minds, even you called us at one point of time between 12 and 13, love to be in that zone always. Continue to be that way, at least at heart, if at all. So yes, very well put up. The entire conversation seems a little scary, but I'm sure there's always a sunshine after the tunnel. We've all seen that with COVID also. We've lived till that day of black has gone past. Clouds have gone by. So we will definitely, yes, we've been a little, definitely, I would agree. We've been negligent. We've taken things for granted. It's time we rise for our planet the way it has secured us. It's time we say thank you for everything with lots of gratitude that it has always given. It's time we humans now give back to our great motherlands. So yes, we will preserve our animals, and Rotary will definitely take up some initiative, which I'm sure we'll take a lot of guidance from you all. I will now hand over to Yatish Shasa, Rotarian Yatish Shasani, for the vote of thanks. Thank you so very much, gentlemen. It was wonderful having you all. Yatish?
Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening, friends.
Mr. Bittu Sehgal, thank you so much for a very, very insightful talk. Darshan Katau, thank you so much for being the moderator this evening and having Mr. Bittu Sehgal come here to talk to us. And
My pleasure.
of course, Mr. Amandeep Kaur and Nishita Kumar from Team Sanctuary Nature Foundation also. Thank you so much. I'm sure all of us agree with you that biodiversity and climate change and these things are very, very important, and it's the call of the day. I mean, we've seen it in the pandemic. We've seen how lockdowns have actually improved our air quality and small things like that. And yes, I think people are waking up to that fact. And like Jankana said, I'm sure the Rotary will get together and come together and start voicing these things. But thank you for a very, very insightful evening. Wonderful to have you here, sir.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Really
Thank you,
appreciate
everybody.
it. Thank you. Thank you very, very much. Thank you. It was such an honor to speak with you all.
Lovely having you all over. It was really wonderful. And at a point of time, we had almost 80 logins if you go to see. So because we have spouses sitting together or partners sitting together. So that's how it is. So thank you so very much. Now I will hand it over to our sports director, Rotarian Preetham, to announce our upcoming events, please. Preetham, can you please unmute yourself and speak? I believe
he's logged out. I think.
I guess Preetham has logged out. So I am just going to
online. Yeah.
He's just got logged off. So I'm just going to make a quick announcement that our upcoming event is a speaker meeting with a twist. When I say a speaker meeting with a twist, it is a trailing blaze that we are having, keeping no carbon footprints. We are going to be walking and we are going to be cycling and no our Mumbai Mary Jan. So we are going to go to a lovely early morning session of a cycling and a walking event, followed by a quick healthy brunch. So this is something that the team, definitely the sports team, will be putting it across. The event is happening on it's on the 6th of February. It's early part of the morning. It's a Sunday morning, but I'm sure you all will all rise and shine for a good Sunday morning that you all will definitely remember. So looking forward for everyone to keep your dates blocked. 13th is also an event that is planned by the fellowship team. So I would also please request everyone to block these 2 dates. Obviously, the planners will be circulated. You will be having the information about the same. So just a complete heads up to everyone to keep these savior dates, 6th and the 13th of February. Over to Harshodhan for the secretarial part of announcements, please.
Good evening, everyone. I'm so happy there were more than 60 logins today, and it's great to see Mr. Bittu Sehgal bringing in our childhoods back and reminding us how to become 12 again and piquing all our curiosity. Amazing, amazing session today. Thank you, sir. Once again, we wish all the members who had their birthdays and anniversaries in the month of January best wishes. And we appeal to the people to come forward and contribute towards the Sunshine Fund, which is used for the Annapurnas. Thank you so much and see you soon on the 6th of February. Over to you, Jankana.
Thank you so very much, Harsh. And the meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone. We can, yes, open the floor for conversation and everyone can have a glass of hot chocolate or coffee as they please at their lovely homes where we are all safe and healthy just for this month that we had decided. So yes, things are opening up and we definitely will meet up soon enough.
So why are these pangolins being killed so much? Every day in the news we hear about pangolin exports and
Harsh, it's a very strange thing, you know. I mean, truth is stranger than fiction. The fact is that COVID-19 is a direct result of bats. But the pangolins are the widest, largest traded mammal in the world. They go from here to Wuhan. It's medicinal and they're actually dunked into boiling water and the meat is eaten as well. So it has become something which is like walking gold. And what happens is that from the bat, it got transferred to the host of the pangolin, because the pangolin was eaten by human beings. It got transferred to human beings, and then that is how it's gone. It's like AIDS, it came because they were eating monkeys, then it went to us, then it got transferred. And the same thing with all these things. These are zoonotic diseases. So the pangolin, if we want to stop COVID-19, first thing is protect and hammer the wildlife trade, because they are actually threatening life on Earth now, human life for sure.
Right.
So it's something called the Dasgupta review. It's of course a 600-page review, but the 20-page summary is worth reading. The Dasgupta review. It's something that the UK government had done, and the London School of Economics, Lord Nicholas Stern, came up with the Stern review. And you have the IPBES. These are really management tools, how people can manage countries, relationships, etc.
Right. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Harsh, for filling in today and
Anytime.
getting the meeting going. It really appreciate all the help.
Anytime.
Yes. Mr. Sehgal,
wonderful.
Yes, it has been really wonderful for your, the insight that you have given. We've obviously had a little bit of an understanding, but this was really wonderful to understand it much at a deeper level, that you really focused and showcased it to us tonight.
Oh, it was
And
a pleasure.
we will
and
surely kind of bother you to maybe just guide us as to how we can come in the picture and take this further. Definitely we shall.
Yeah, Jandana, let's do something in the, I mean, we are doing so much for